Hello, Alabama. It's a surprise to have great recruits, even after the change in leadership at Bama, and that's no different with Justin Hill. Soon to arrive at Bama, great news, after all, this is Bama's way of continuing its tradition. He's a four-star star from Winton Woods High School in Ohio, and while he hasn't put up the same impressive numbers as in past seasons, he's still a player whose presence on the field impacts much more than just his own stats. Under the guidance of Coach Chad Murphy, Hill has faced different challenges this season, drawing double teams and forcing opponents to constantly adjust their strategies to neutralize him. It's a situation that only confirms the kind of impact he has on the field and the kind of influence he will bring to Alabama. Coach Murphy makes it clear that despite the change in numbers, Hill hasn't diminished his intensity and determination in the slightest. He continues to be a player who, with his versatility, can create opportunities for his teammates and influence the flow of the game. And that's exactly the kind of player Alabama knows how to use. Defensive coordinator Kane Womack already sees Hill as a talent ready for the Wolf linebacker position, a role that will require multiple skills, from pressuring the passer on the edge to covering offensive players in different formations. It's a complex role with high responsibility, but Hill seems to be designed for this task, showing in practice how his experience as a hybrid defensive end has shaped him for even greater challenges at the college level. Hill's choice for Alabama, despite other strong offers, reflects a connection between what the player is looking for and what the program offers. The Crimson Tide's continuity and history of maximizing the potential of players at the linebacker position weighed in on his decision, especially when compared to competing programs like Ohio State. Murphy points out that Alabama presented Hill with not just a job, but a clear plan, a solid framework for his development. This type of detailed and specific approach resonates with athletes who have a long-term vision in mind, and Hill, a mature and focused player, found the ideal environment to develop at Alabama. Despite a few losses this season, Hill's commitment to Alabama remains unwavering. Murphy describes him as a solid and determined player who has his purpose and goals in mind within college football. More than just numbers and performance on the field, Hill is seen as a natural leader, someone who leaves a mark with his work ethic and the way he lifts up his teammates. It is this quality that Murphy, his coach, will miss the most when Hill leaves Winton Woods High School, a young man who, in addition to being a talented athlete, is an exemplary human being, ready to inspire his future teammates at Alabama. Hill's arrival at Alabama is not just an addition to the roster, but rather an injection of energy and potential for a defense that is always looking to reinvent itself. He joins other promising linebackers in the 2025 class, such as Darryl Johnson, Dawson Merritt and Luke Metz, in a group that promises to strengthen the Crimson Tide's backbone for years to come. Hill brings with him not only physical ability, but also the mentality of a committed, disciplined player willing to grow in a competitive and demanding environment. Alabama knows that by investing in Justin Hill, they are not only recruiting a top athlete, but also a potential leader, someone who will become a pillar of the team on and off the field. Let's move on, because 2025 could be even bigger than 2024 for Bama. Jalen Milroe and this guy? Let's talk about him now. He is about to face one of the biggest races of his season, replicating the success he was running against LSU's defense in 2023. In the last confrontation between Alabama and LSU, Milroe showed impressive performance, combining his land and air rule to guide the Crimson Tide to a crucial victory. He accumulated 219 aerial yards and 155 on the floor, noting 4 racing touchdowns that were essential for triumph. Now, in 2024, the mission is repeated, but this time in enemy territory, where the defense of the Tigers will be more attentive than ever to contain it. Milroe knows that LSU this year has evolved defensively, with a line of aggressive rushers, disciplined linebackers, and a more experienced secondary. However, for a dynamic quarterback like him, the challenge is something he embraces. According to Milroe, a quarterback that runs is not an easy task for any defense, regardless of the opponent. This kind of double threat forces defenses to think fast and adjust their coverage, dividing attention between air and terrestrial attacks. This versatility, he believes, can be a differential, especially against a team as structured as LSU. Despite recent difficulties in achieving significant numbers in the land game, with an average of 2.14 yards per race in recent matches, Milroe remains focused. His approach is not based on reviving the 2023 performance or trying to overcome what other quarterbacks, such as Marcel Reed, recently did against LSU. For Milroe, the focus is entirely on Saturday and what he and Crimson Tide can conquer with the appropriate preparation and mindset. Offensive coordinator Nick Sheridan also reinforces this mindset, highlighting the impact of Milroe's consistency and commitment during training and game planning. For Sheridan, Milroe is the type of quarterback that benefits greatly from routine and thorough preparation, which are essential factors for confident and safe field performance. Let's go ahead. Alabama is facing a challenging season with a string of injuries impacting its wide receivers. With Cole Adams and Jalen Hale out for the season, the depth at wide receiver is compromised, and head coach Kalen DeBoer is being forced to adapt his offensive strategies to keep the team moving. Adams, who was a key player in the win over Missouri, has officially been ruled out for the rest of the season after his injury was confirmed. Jalen Hale, meanwhile, has not seen action since the spring due to a sideline injury, making things even more difficult for Alabama. In addition to Adams and Hale's absences, receivers Kobe Prentice and Kendrick Law have also been struggling with injuries that have limited their participation in critical moments of the season. This scenario has led DeBoer to get creative, making the most of the resources still available on the roster. He recently highlighted how the program is using cross-training to keep the offense dynamic, moving wide receivers who can play both inside and outside, optimizing players' versatility and ensuring each player is ready to fill in when they're out. The approach, DeBoer says, is all hands on deck at this stage of the season, where adjustments and improvisation are key. That flexibility will be essential in the matchup against LSU, where the Crimson Tide will face one of the toughest defenses in the game. With some of its top wideouts missing, Alabama will rely on Prentice and Law, hoping both are ready to play crucial roles. Amid this restructuring, DeBoer's goal is to maximize the potential of each available player, combining skills and positions to form a cohesive and competitive offense. Let's get to it. Elijah Pritchett is having a tough time at Alabama, especially at right tackle, which has been a real testing ground for him. While critics are paying attention to his numbers, with 4 sacks, 15 hurries and 19 pressures allowed according to Pro Football Focus, it's clear that Pritchett faces significant challenges. He's not dealing with just any defense. The opponents he faces, like South Carolina's Kyle Kennard and Tennessee's James Pierce Jr., are high-level threats, players who constantly pressure the offensive line. For Alabama coach Kalen DeBoer, the big picture goes beyond the blocking stats and the numbers he's recorded. DeBoer sees Pritchett as an athlete with great potential and remarkable improvement over the course of the season. In 8 games, Pritchett has shown resilience and commitment. He's competitive, DeBoer said, noting that the player is dedicated to practice and is constantly growing. It's that progress that the coach values more than any numerical metric. Pritchett has shown consistency on the field, and that's a key quality that DeBoer is looking to develop and polish on the team. Pritchett's path to becoming a starter has not been easy. A former 5-star tackle, he had to compete for the position with Wilkin Formby, a 4-star tackle in 2023, in an intense battle in the early games. That internal battle demonstrated the competitiveness and depth of Alabama's roster, and Pritchett ultimately secured his spot. His on-field performance may not be the most impressive on paper, but each game has been a learning experience, and he's growing under the watchful eye of DeBoer and his coaching staff. Alabama's offensive line, as a whole, is also facing challenges. The 17 sacks allowed in 8 games reflect a need for more cohesion and security in protection. However, Alabama is still competing well in the SEC, tied for 6th with strong teams like Missouri and Texas. With 47 tackles for loss allowed, the team knows it needs to improve, especially considering the upcoming matchup against LSU, which has an aggressive defense with 28 sacks and 49 tackles for loss. DeBoer and the rest of the coaching staff are aware of these challenges and are focused on continuing Pritchett's progress and maintaining stability on the offensive line. For fans, Pritchett's journey epitomizes the spirit of Alabama: perseverance, constant improvement, and dedication. He is far from a lost cause. Instead, he is a valuable developmental asset who is learning to handle the pressure and challenges of a demanding season. Under DeBoer's leadership, he is on the right track, with the support he needs to grow into a pillar of Alabama's offensive line. What do you think? Let me know what you think. Comment below.